pretty quickly Snow realizes that Sejanus is not going to leave the arena without Marcus's body. Snow's like, you know what, whatever, I'll grab the feet, let's get out of here. The tributes have now realized that there are 2 capital kids in the arena with them with no protection, and they're trying to get out of there, and he turns around, he sees the District 10 boy bringing down a knife to kill him, and now he's wearing body armor, which was good, but then he kills him. I couldn't believe, it was all of a sudden, Snow is in the Hunger Games, and I thought he was gonna get locked in there. He and Sejanus barely get out of there. Snow goes up to the Peacekeeper, like, dude, what the heck? You were supposed to back us up. You were supposed to shoot at the tributes if somebody tried to attack us. And he's like, well, actually, Dr. Gall told us not to do that. And Snow has this moment where he's like, I've lost a certain amount of innocence I'm never going to get back because I took human life. And Dr. Gall is like, you're welcome for the lesson about how quickly people can turn savage. Like him. He always has this air about him where he thinks he's just so civilized. Snows are proper. It took him 5 seconds to kill someone. And so now the game makers have requested, when one of the tributes dies, take their chair out of this little setup place that they have for the mentors. And it was so dark, but it was so funny. When one of the girls was like, it's like musical chairs. And then another one is like, yeah, with people dying. So the first time we're gonna see Lucy Gray since this whole thing started is she's running out of this little alcove thing, followed by Jessup. And Snow's like, this doesn't make sense because they're allies. What, did she poison him? There's this white foam on his mouth, and then he realizes he's rabid. Rabies? How do they do that? Because usually what happens to the tributes happens in the arena, but this is a pre-existing condition because he got bitten by a raccoon because they lived in a zoo before they got sent into this arena. Snow realizes, people who are rabid are afraid of water. So he starts sending, he has all this money built up for Lucy Gray, but he hasn't been able to send anything to her because the tributes have to be out in the open to receive their gifts. And so he starts sending, all these water bottles. I was so nervous. And the cameraman asked him, do you have any last thoughts on Jessup? And his mentor is like, he saved me during that explosion. When it first went off in the arena, he covered her. She was like, he would have died to have saved Lucy Gray. The cameraman is like, oh, like a dog or something. And she went, no, like a human being. It just would have been so interesting to see if these students, if they could have made a difference. It just seemed like they were on the verge of being like, the Hunger Games is wrong. And then all of a sudden, we see it 50 years in advance where people are so numb to it. It's just really interesting to see how people were struggling with this, even in the Capitol at the very beginning, because they were not used to what the Hunger Games is. They weren't born into that system. Oh my god. So Snow figures out that these neon demon snakes are going to be going into the arena. First of all, these snakes are small, and the arena is not enclosed, really, by anything. So these things are going to end up in the Capitol. That did not happen. But Dr. Gall tells Snow, he's like, it was your girl who gave me this idea because of the snake she used back in the reaping. Snow was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna get bitten by one of these snakes and turn into what Clemencia has become. And so he has a handkerchief that had her scent on it, so he dropped it into the vat of snake that were being sent to the arena. And when they do drop them in, Clemencia freaks out. And so Snow is holding her, trying to get her to stop panicking in front of all these people. Those are one of those moments where you see that he has a heart, or he had one. So because Lucy Gray is immune because they know her scent, and also because she is really good with snakes for some reason, she comes out of hiding because the kids are getting bitten and dying, and she's just walking and singing to them. They come up on her skirt and weave around her. This is creepy. Are we sure we want to be in love with this girl? What was really interesting is that District 3 tributes have been using the technology already in the game for a long time, apparently. I thought it was really cool in the Hunger Games where they used those landmines beneath the little starting things where they made it to blow up the food. But this has been going on a long time. The drones that they've been bringing food in, one of the District 3 tributes got a hold of it and kind of messed with it. It got all the other drones coming in to attack the one boy and kill him. I was like, that is evil. Also, I would not feel safe sending gifts in anymore. But then she does get immediately killed. And then we're left with 2 tributes. It was so fast. And so Reaper is left. He has been really creepy because he's been stacking all the dead bodies in this fake sort of morgue that he's built. And he has this obsession with lag, and Lucy Gray takes part of it, and she's running around getting him to chase her like he's a bull or something. And she's trying to run him to death. And it works. He pretty much realizes he's gonna die. It turns out he might have probably had rabies. He gets onto the stack himself and just lays down and dies. Lucy Gray has to go check his pulse. It was so weird. They didn't know if the tributes tributes were really dead. Like, they just had to kind of like wait and see who appeared. But Lucy Gray and Snow have won the Hunger Games. But then he goes and sees the dean, and he was like, maybe he's gonna congratulate me, even though he hates me. And he brings out like the napkin that he gave her the food in that he wasn't supposed to take, and then the compact that had the poison in it, and the handkerchief that he gave to the snakes. And he's like, you cheated, now go be a peacekeeper, because that's your only option in life now, because we're not accepting you here. Like, other than killing you, this is your other option. Snow becomes a peacekeeper. We go into part 3, I'm like, how much time has passed? How much time has passed? But it's literally been like a day. And Snow has requested to go to District 12, because as far as he knows, Lucy Gray has been sent back to District 12, like a regular victor. The only reason they probably haven't killed her for cheating is because, I mean, it kind of wasn't her fault, and also people love her. And we also meet Junius, and if I'm not mistaken, that's the peacekeeper who's literally the worst in the Hunger Games trilogy. So Janice shows up because he's also become a peacekeeper, and he was pretty much getting punished for being ridiculous about going into the arena and going against the Capitol and all this stuff. And he's like, well, my dad paid for a bunch of stuff that they wanted, and so I get to be a peacekeeper, and we both get to say we graduated, which is really important to Snow because he cannot be any good job that he wanted in the past without that. And we find out that Lucy Gray is going to be performing somewhere in District 12. I was like, this worked out too well. And they're all excited to go to this show, but first they get put on their first assignment, and it's the hanging. The hanging, oh my gosh. So where Snow was placed to be part of the guard, his back was to the forest. He's like, I don't like having my back to the forest. I'm like, that's because you don't like turning your back on Katniss. She scares you, and she's not even born yet. It was really, really eerie when they hang the guy and he yells for the girl he loves to run. And even after his neck snaps and he's dead, you can still hear that echoing because of the Mockingjays. He was hung for supposedly killing 3 people. And so I start freaking out. Like, all caps in my notes, I'm like, strung up a man, they say, who murdered 3? And then Snow remembers this thing a long time ago where he's like hearing all these Mockingjays, and he remembers that Lucy Gray told him that like the Mockingjay sing at the end of the show, and he goes, do you mean your show? And she said, no, I mean the Capitol show. The Mockingjay sings at the end of the Capitol show. And what she meant was these killings. But I felt like it was such a good like foreshadowing of Katniss. She was the one who ended the Capitol show. I love this line. Coriolanus felt sure he'd spotted his first Mockingjay, and he disliked the thing on sight. Chills! Back in the Capitol, the Snow family was really close with this man who owned a nightclub, and so he's getting letters from this guy. And he kind of like said something that made Snow realize that one of the reasons his headmaster might hate him so much is because his father and the headmaster used to be friends, and now they weren't. They had some sort of fight, but we don't know what it is. Snow was like, really, did you have to take it out on me? Like, my father is dead. It has been decades since y'all had that fight. But they go finally to Lucy Gray's show. He was so he was so excited to see her, so excited to kiss her, and I could see it going badly. Like, I don't know, but she sees him, and she literally is like, this might be the best night of my life. Into the microphone. I was like, oh my gosh, she actually loves him. There was no joke there. But then the ex-boyfriend she sang that song about shows up. There's a big fight, and he doesn't get to talk to her, which was probably a good thing in the end. On page 376, there is a mention of the Pita Family Bakery. I started freaking out when I realized that Lucy Gray was the one who wrote The Hanging Tree. And I was like, did she write this for Snow? Like, okay, so maybe she didn't write it for him, but it ended up being like a message for him later. And I was just so baffled. I cannot believe that this is the song. Like, the song of District 12, the song of the rebellion. He hears it, and they spend time together, and they're being all cutesy in a field, and there's a goat. I just couldn't believe that all these nice things were happening. I was like, if this was a normal book, this is where we end. This is the stop. But we have to see that villain arc. I didn't know what was going to go down. And so, apparently, this ex-boyfriend is trying to escape District 12, and he's talking to Sejanus about it, because Sejanus is not made out to be peacekeeper, and so he might try to escape too, and he plays a big part in that. And so they're talking about these plans when Snow and Lucy Gray come back. What are you getting yourself into? Honestly, like, I know Sejanus' heart was in the right place, but Snow has literally saved your butt 15 million times from death. Can you not get into trouble? And Snow tries to talk him out of it and really like lays it on thick. He's like, we're like brothers, like don't leave, it's okay. But to Sejanus, District 2 will always be the home he can't return to. They go to the lake that Katniss swims in later, and there's that house where the people with the cookies with the Mockingjay. I couldn't believe we were seeing all these places again. Even the break in the fence where they pull it back. And Lucy Gray and Snow are kind of bumping shoulders about the idea of humanity and if they're good or not. And it was a really interesting, like, philosophical debate between them where Snow was like, you know, if we didn't have the Capitol, if we didn't have order, like, we would just turn on each other. And Lucy Gray is like, no, people are inherently good. Like, it's not worth, like, giving up my freedom to have this protection when I probably don't need it. And then there's a mention of Katniss. Like, one of the cubby comes up and he's got, like, Katniss plants in his hand. Lucy Gray says, some people call them swamp potatoes, but I like Katniss better. Has a nice ring to it. LOL, yeah it does. Lucy Gray sings Maud Ivory, the song that Katniss sings to Prim and sings to Rue while she's dying, and it was just so reminiscent to see these songs again. So we finally get the full story of this ex-boyfriend who started running around with the mayor's daughter, and the mayor's daughter didn't like that he was singing Lucy Gray, obviously. So she had her father rig the reaping to call out Lucy Gray's name. That is a different level of revenge. So Sejanus tells Snow, like, you can't change my mind. I'm going to escape into the wild with this covey ex-boyfriend of Lucy Gray. And this whole time, they've been rounding up jabberjays which can completely repeat human conversation. But Snow records Sejanus talking about escaping on one of these jabberjays. He knows that they're gonna go back to Dr. Gall. I just couldn't believe it. And then that night at one of the covey performances, Sejanus kind of goes missing. And Snow's like, oh my gosh, I better go look for him because I always do. These people trying to escape are sitting there planning. Lucy Gray comes in after him, and then she kind of has to play it off that she's gonna be escaping too, and Snow's gonna be covering for them all. Things go bad because Mayfair was hiding the mayor's daughter, who's the worst. So Snow shoots her because she's about to run off and tell her daddy where they're going. This other guy, who isn't a huge part of the plot, shoots the ex-boyfriend, and Snow, like, tells Lucy Gray, like, hurry, go sing so you have an alibi. And he honestly feels like it's just a matter of time until his DNA is found, because later they bring in this Spruce guy, and Snow realizes he never made it out of District 12. Like, that gun with my DNA is somewhere in the town. Like, they're gonna find it. I'm gonna be dead in a week. The Jabberjay does get back to Dr. Gall. Sejanus is hung, and it's so sad because he's calling for his ma at the very end, and then it's like repeated by all the Mockingjays. Snow gets called in. He thinks he's getting arrested, but his commanding officer is like, hey, good job. I know it must have been hard to send in that Jabberjay. And then we do have a happy moment because it's the commander's birthday, and the covey were hired to sing. Lucy Gray sings a song that was so clearly meant for him, and the whole message of the song is that she knows he's a good person, even after she watched him kill someone. And Lucy Gray is like, look, they can't find the murderers of Mayfair and my ex-boyfriend, and it really only makes sense that I would kill them. Like, I really do have the motive, and the mayor wants to pin this on somebody. Like, somebody's gonna pay for this girl's death. And she says she's gonna run off and live in the wilderness, and he's gonna go with her. And my brain's just replaying the trailer from the first movie. We could do, you know, take off, live in the woods, they'll catch us. Maybe not. And then he realizes, like, oh, they didn't establish a meeting spot, and her last song is the Hanging Tree song. He knows where he's supposed to meet her the next day. Snow gets called in, and they're like, congratulations, you passed your officer test so well that we're sending you to District 2 for the elite officer school. Like, this could almost be better for his career than going to the university. And now he's got to choose between power or love, but this whole thing that the gun is still in town, someone's gonna find it, that he decides he's gonna go with Lucy Gray. He loves her, he wants to be with her, he thinks this is his decision. He meets up with Lucy Gray, and he's like, you didn't bring any of your instruments, and she didn't. She's like, I left them for Maud Ivory, like, she's gonna be a great singer. I left all those dresses. And I was like, is Maud Ivory Katniss's grandmother? Because Katniss's mom had all those, like, nice dresses from her family in that trunk. Maybe I'm reaching a little bit, but I was like, this is totally possible. Because they make a big deal about how Prim and her mother don't look like the rest of the people of District 12. So maybe she is one of these covey people, just like the descendants. They're about 5 minutes into their hike into the wood when Snow is like, this life is not for me. He's just realizing, he's like, this is what I've been so afraid of. Like, he is so afraid of not being civilized. He's like, I'm the best of the best of humanity, which, okay, bro. But, like, the fact, he just can't get over it. He's like, I don't want to live like an animal. Like, what is the difference between this and being in the Hunger Games where you act like an animal because you're trying to stay alive? And he's like, what do I have to look forward to? Just more survival? Like, there's nothing out here. And he starts freaking out. And then we find all the weapons. Spruce apparently managed to get them out of District 12. This is he's free. He can go back because There is no evidence linking him to that murder, and it takes Lucy Gray about 3 seconds to figure this out too, because she essentially goes missing. Snow is realizing this girl I'm in love with, my girlfriend, realizes that I might leave. She doesn't want to do this on her own. She might kill me. He like thinks back, he's like, she's not sweet. She uses snakes to kill people. She was a victor in the Hunger Games. She has killed people. And she does. She leads him astray. The little scarf that he gave her is on a bush and he tries to pick it up because he's trying to find her. He's trying to kill her. And a snake jumps out and he was like, this was a trap. Like, she set up a trap for me to get bitten by a snake. Y'all got some issues. And he's walking, like, he's trying to find her. He's like, I just want to talk. I just want to talk. I'm like, no, you just want to shoot her because you have a gun in your hand and she is your last loose end. And he like just sprays bullets around the forest and leaves. We don't know if she's alive. At the end of the book, we don't know if she's alive. And he goes back. He now gets sent back to the capital instead of District 2. He gets sent to Dr. Gall, who wouldn't see him before. And she's like, congratulations, you passed this little peacekeeper test I set up for you. You're going to university to be taught by me. In the epilogue, he's a game maker intern. He's helping come up with all these ideas where people, you know, win for their district and the victor's village. And this whole way that it works, he's setting up the Hunger Games as we know it. He's accepting all this money and help from Sejanus's parents because they need a kid to care for and he needs parents and money. And they don't know that Snow is the reason their son is dead. This was where you saw how evil he was. And then we find out why his headmaster hates him so much, because of his dad. And he was like, we were drunk one night, we just had a theoretical thing about the Hunger Games, and then your dad wrote it up and sent it in as a project, and now it's a thing. This was never meant to happen. I didn't want this to happen. Snow's dad made the Hunger Games be a thing, and now that's his legacy too. And then he poisons Highbottom. Like, we know President Snow has a penchant for poisoning people. What in the heck? There's also, if you got, I guess, the Barnes & Noble edition, where it has the interview with Suzanne Collins at the back, and there's this mention. There's just a mention of how a poem from Williams Wordsworth was how she got Lucy Gray's name, and how she disappeared mysteriously, and how she liked that about her, and how she echoed that in this. And it's a question that I can address if I decide to fill out more of the world of Panem. So, like, there's more coming? I mean, was this a hint at another book? There's so much more we could discuss here. Because we've got 12 districts. We've got Haymitch's story. We've got how District 13 managed to get back up and running again. We've got those people in the woods that maybe Lucy Gray ended up with. This was a solid 10 out of 10 for me because I just love Hunger Games. What did you think? I know a lot of people had controversial opinions about this, especially about it being Snow's story. For a while, I didn't really want to read about Snow because I didn't want to sympathize with him, because I definitely did. I did sympathize with him. I don't love him, but I sympathize with him. I understand his story now. Did you like that perspective? Did you like Lucy Gray as a character? If there is another novel coming out, what do you want it to be about? I want it to be about Haymitch. Or maybe Effie, like young Effie or young Cinna. That would be really interesting because it would also be like around the time where Snow is really getting his hold. Oh, so good. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to talk about more book stuff, please subscribe. My name's Katelyn. Thank you for watching. Bye.